She stood outside the iron gates of a school, her tiny hands clutching a torn notebook, her eyes filled with hope. But that day, she was told she didn't belong, too poor, too insignificant, unworthy of education. Years later, those same gates could no longer contain her story, because the girl once denied admission now builds schools that open doors for thousands. The sun had barely risen in the small town when little Aisha woke up with a wide smile. Her mother had pressed and cleaned her one faded dress the night before, and her father had walked with her proudly to the nearby private school. They had saved for weeks just to afford the admission form, selling vegetables late into the night to scrape enough for the application. For Aisha, that day meant everything. She had memorized alphabets from old discarded newspapers and taught herself to count using bottle caps. School meant more than books, it meant a chance to escape the destiny of poverty that surrounded her. As she clutched her father's hand, she whispered, "Abba, I will study hard and make you proud." Her father's smile hid the worry in his eyes. When they reached the school's big iron gates, Aisha stared in awe at the tall building with its clean walls, colorful murals, and children in neat uniforms. She thought it was heaven. But heaven was not for her. When they finally entered the office, the principal looked at them with disdain. She barely glanced at Aisha, instead glaring at her father's worn-out shoes and patched shirt. "We don't have space for children like her," the principal said coldly. "She doesn't fit here." Her father pleaded, offering to work extra to cover the fees. He promised that Aisha was bright, determined, and capable. But the answer was a cruel laugh and a firm rejection. "Take her to the government school if you can. We don't accept children who can't maintain our standards." Outside the gates, Aisha held back her tears, but her little heart broke. She wasn't denied because she lacked ability, she was denied because she was poor. That wound cut so deep that night she told herself, "If they won't let me in, I will build a place where every child belongs." At only 7 years old, she didn't fully understand the weight of her words, but destiny had heard her vow. Though denied entry to the private school, Aisha refused to give up her dream of learning. She began attending the overcrowded government school where benches were broken, chalk was scarce, and sometimes there were no teachers at all. But Aisha's hunger for knowledge was unstoppable. She borrowed books from neighbors, scribbled notes under the dim light of a kerosene lamp, and spent nights practicing handwriting on newspapers when notebooks ran out. While her classmates complained about the lack of resources, Aisha turned challenges into fuel. She taught younger children in her alley what she had learned, repeating lessons so she could remember them better. Often, her stomach would rumble with hunger because her family could not afford both food and books, yet she never let that weakness win. Her father supported her, always telling her, "Education is your weapon, Aisha. Don't ever put it down." But poverty was a relentless enemy. At the age of 12, her father fell ill and could no longer work. Aisha began selling vegetables after school, balancing books and baskets with equal determination. People mocked her, saying girls like her were meant to cook, clean, and marry young. But Aisha had seen the gates of rejection once and promised herself she would never accept the prison of ignorance. Slowly, her perseverance began to shine. She topped her district exams and caught the attention of a teacher who secretly began tutoring her for free. With her guidance, Aisha secured a scholarship to a university in the city. When she stepped onto that campus, she remembered the cold rejection from years ago. But this time, no one could turn her away. She belonged. But as she studied business and economics, excelling with every exam, she also never forgot the children she left behind in her town, children who still studied under leaking roofs or didn't study at all. While her peers dreamed of corporate jobs and high salaries, Aisha dreamed of building classrooms that didn't reject anyone. She was quietly designing her destiny, brick by brick, in her mind. After graduating with honors, Aisha faced a new crossroad. She received offers from prestigious companies that promised wealth and comfort. For her, this was a golden escape from poverty, but her heart carried the weight of her promise, the vow she made as a little girl outside those school gates. Instead of taking the easy path, she started working with NGOs, traveling to rural areas where children walked miles barefoot just for a chance to read. She saw girls married off at 13 because there were no schools nearby, and boys forced into labor because education was a luxury. Each story broke her, but also built her resolve. With every paycheck she earned, she saved a portion in a fund she called the Open Door. Slowly, she began constructing small classrooms in villages, starting with bamboo walls and tin roofs. At first, people doubted her. "A single woman cannot build schools," they whispered. But Aisha knew better, because she had already built resilience from rejection. With the help of volunteers and kind-hearted donors who believed in her vision, her initiative grew. One classroom turned into 3, 3 into 10, and soon, her foundation was building schools across regions where education had been just a dream. Her story spread like wildfire. Media outlets covered the girl who was once denied school admission but now opened doors for thousands. International organizations reached out to support her mission. And when she was invited to speak at global conferences about education, she stood tall on stage and told the world, "When you deny one child an education, you deny an entire generation. But when you educate one child, you lift countless lives." Aisha had not just changed her fate, she was rewriting the destiny of thousands. Years later, on a bright morning, Aisha stood outside the same private school where she had once been rejected. Only this time, she was not a helpless child with a torn notebook, she was a respected philanthropist whose foundation had built over 200 schools, educating nearly 50,000 children. The principal who had once turned her away was long retired, but the gates remained the same. As she stood there, memories rushed back, the humiliation, the tears, the vow. And then she smiled. She had kept her promise. That afternoon, she inaugurated a brand new school built by her foundation right across the street from the private school. This school had no iron gates to keep anyone out. Its walls were painted with bright colors, its classrooms filled with books, and its teachers trained to nurture, not judge. Children from all walks of life entered freely, their eyes sparkling with the hope Aisha once carried. Parents cried with gratitude, telling her that their children's future was now brighter than their own. Reporters asked her what inspired her to do all this, and she answered simply, "A closed door made me realize that no child should ever be denied education because of who they are or what they have. So I decided to build doors that never close." Aisha's journey became more than her story, it became a movement. Scholarships, mentorship programs, and community libraries followed. The girl who was once too poor for school had become the woman funding schools for thousands. Her pain had turned into purpose, her rejection into revolution. And whenever she saw a child in a uniform, smiling with books in hand, she whispered to herself, "This is my victory." She was proof that the walls of rejection can be transformed into bridges of opportunity, and that one broken dream can give birth to thousands more. Her story reminds us that a single rejection can either break you, or build you into a force that changes the world. Aisha chose to build. Thousands of children now walk into classrooms because she refused to accept no. If her journey touched your heart, don't let it end here. Share this story, inspire someone today, and remember, education is the light that no one should be denied. Subscribe to Kindness Vibes for more real, life-changing stories that prove kindness and perseverance can reshape the world. Comment below, what's one rejection that pushed you to rise stronger? And if you believe every child deserves education, hit the like button and share this story so her message can reach millions.